All right, welcome back, everybody. This is Jake back with Ryan Spatafora. We're doing niche site project. This is call number 7, I believe, for me and Ryan. So, Ryan, how you doing tonight?
Good, Jake. How you doing?
Doing real well, man. So the last time that we spoke, a couple weeks ago, we talked about doing some link building and building, at least some base links, and then also some ongoing strategies. So give us a little bit of an update over the last couple of weeks. Have you had time to dig into any of that, or what have you been working on? How's it been going?
It's been going good. I just started my outreach and really like my link building like this week, a little bit last week. After I got my site to a point where I felt like it was presentable.
Okay.
So it's going okay so far. I don't know that I have a backlink yet,
Okay.
but I have I've planted some seeds
Yeah.
there, and the more I go down the rabbit hole, the more I don't know the opportunities start to show themselves to me a little
Yeah.
bit. That makes sense.
Absolutely.
So definitely putting into practice a few of the things that we talked about. I'm checking the helper reporter out,
Hmm.
checking that every day. I haven't responded to any of the queries yet. We
Okay.
talked about this a little bit
Yeah.
yesterday. Um, because there's nothing specifically baseball related that I've found, and I feel like some of the other stuff's kind of a stretch for me
Sure.
to comment on, but
Yeah.
I think I'm just going to go for a couple like fitness related things and try and loop it back to baseball if I can, and see
Yeah.
if I get any bites on that, because you never know.
Yeah. Just for those of you listening, what Ryan's alluding to, he had emailed me a question about that with the helper reporter out. My thoughts back to Ryan, where I mentioned this before, is that anything that's remotely close, I think, is worth going after in that context. So in this case, I suggested to Ryan that if it's about fitness or physical performance or something like that, that's close enough to baseball. I think baseball, athletics, sports, fitness, I think those are all sort of bunched together in that way. If it were something where somebody's looking for a comment about 401k investments, I think that's silly and completely unrelated. But fitness is certainly close enough. So my suggestion to Ryan was, and for those of you guys out there that are looking at help a reporter out, the way that I try to do it is, when I respond to somebody, I'll say, hey, this is Jake, and I'm the creator of whatever site I'm doing outreach for. And then I give about a half a sentence summary or a 1 sentence summary of what that site is, and try to make it so they instantly know who I am and they know why I'm relevant. So I was saying to Ryan, this is Ryan Spatafora. I'm the creator of my website, and we help baseball players get the most, perform their best or something like that. So it's kind of tells a little bit about what you do, tells that you are trying to help people be better athletes, be more fit, that sort of thing, which does fall into what Ryan is covering on the site. And so definitely, I think that it's something to go after. So that's cool. So has anybody replied to you at all that you've done outreach for, even if you've not gotten a backlink? Have you got any replies, just like, hey, thanks, or anything?
Actually, not yet.
Okay.
But I just sent those emails off yesterday.
Okay.
So,
Cool.
and some of the sites, I'm not sure how active some of them are.
Okay.
Which, so I don't
Yeah.
know. We'll see. But so I've just done a bunch of directories,
Okay.
and actually I've done some blog comment. I did some blog commenting last night
Okay.
through Comment Love
Oh, okay. Yeah.
on some like baseball related topics.
Okay.
So we'll see what that
Cool.
does. But
Yeah.
I am as you notified me of, ranking on the fifth page of for one
Yep.
keyword.
Yeah.
So
According to our friends at SEM Rush there. So, yeah, that was another question that came up offline that, Ryan was asking about. Maybe some of you guys have experienced this as well. Should I be worried? According to Webmaster Tools, it's not really showing any keywords that I'm ranking for. And my answer to Ryan was no. You may have heard the term sandbox or whatever, which some people say can take up to 6 months for a new site to really start ranking. And so even before then, if you do see rankings, it is not uncommon to, like that thing I mentioned to Ryan, he was ranked like 45th for one of his keywords or something. Tomorrow that might be 450th and then a week later it might be back up to 32 and then down to 87. You'll bounce all over the place when a site is only a few months old. So that's super common, but things will settle in, once you're 6 months in or so and you're doing the right things, which you're doing. You just got to sort of believe in the process and know that you do know what you're doing, and you do. You've got a strategy that we're working out here. So when those things are in place, when the time comes, you will start to rank, and you'll start to see all of a sudden, wow, I'm ranking for a good amount of things. So that's where we're headed. But yeah, it's definitely not a cause for concern that you're not ranking for much yet. So that's good. Anything else? Any other questions while we're sort of just hodgepodging here before we get into talking about YouTube marketing a little bit? Any other questions that have come up that would be worth talking about on the call?
Not that I can think of right now.
Okay.
I think we can let's jump into the YouTubing.
Let's do it. All right, so here's a little agenda for what we're going to talk about. I think that this is going to be, I hope this is going to be a really insightful call for you. I don't want this to become like a shiny object sort of thing where you get off, thinking about just doing YouTube or whatever. Content creation still needs to be the focus of your site, and that's very important. And I think the main focus for what you're doing, but I'm going to talk about why this can be a really effective strategy for your site in particular, and I think it will and can work very, very well, and I know from our previous conversations it's something you're interested in doing, which is great, so I think you should take advantage of it. So I'm going to walk you through something that I did when I was doing this sort of stuff for Longtail Pro. I put this into practice myself. I'm going to teach you what I learned through that, and it worked pretty darn well. So I'm going to talk to you and relate that to baseball tonight, and hopefully you'll pick up and see how you can use this strategy to benefit you and make some extra money and get some visitors, turn them into leads, and those sorts of things. So here's a look at the agenda. I'm going to talk about why go to YouTube in the first place. I'm going to spend a fair amount of time talking about what is known as the bracelet and charm approach. Not a term that I came up with, but I'll definitely credit the source of where I learned this and when I put it into action, and then I'll give you sort of my takeaways from it and kind of my thoughts about it, and then some guidelines for your videos that you'll create and just some practices to follow, turning visitors into leads that I mentioned, and then we'll wrap things up. All right, so let's talk about why YouTube matters. If you don't know already, these are some statistics from their site, from like their press page or whatever, that I thought were amazing. 1 billion user accounts, which they approximate is about a third of all internet users have a YouTube account, which is pretty impressive. YouTube overall, this is crazy to me. And even YouTube on mobile alone reaches more 18 to 34 and 18 to 49 year olds than any cable network in the United States. And I've got people, what in the world? I must have like I duplicated our last presentation and was going over my bullet points, and I've still got people love being recognized. So that must be from my backlinks. Hopefully that's the last time we see that here.
People really do love being recognized.
Absolutely.
It's worth saying.
It's
again.
worth repeating. What's going on here? That'd be really funny in some ways. All right. Growth in watch time on YouTube is accelerated and is up at least 50% year over year for 3 straight years. And it's just amazing because YouTube's been around for seemingly forever in internet speak. I mean, it's been around for quite a long time. And so it's just amazing that, like, for me at least, like when you're aware of something personally and something that you've used a lot for years and years, you sort of assume that it's like everybody knows about it and it's sort of reached its potential or whatever. But even a behemoth like YouTube, that the growth rate is still that high and that fast is just amazing. It's not like it's trending down at all. It's still exploding, which is just amazing. And then an estimated 3 billion searches per month on YouTube, second only to Google. And so they say that YouTube is, you know, the number 2 search engine out there. Google is first, YouTube is next, and then come the Yahoos and Bings of the world. So people are doing more searches on YouTube than they are some of those other alternative search engines. So that's why YouTube matters in general. It is a huge opportunity for somebody that knows what they're doing and has a strategy behind what they're doing. There's tons of people out there that you can reach, and it's a great medium for them to get to know you, know about your site, know about your business, what have you. So why YouTube for Ryan Spadafora and his baseball website here? So it's a great medium to show different skills and drills and the kind of stuff that you're writing about and talking about, thinking about on the site. You know, throwing, hitting, all these different things in baseball are very visual, and writing about them and showing images is one thing, but videos is a whole different thing. So there's just an infinite amount of things that you can do, as you know. I mean, you could sit down and jot down a list, and you could go on for pages about just little things about baseball that you could show somebody who's wanting to become a better player, all the way into doing, you know, some workouts and fitness and stretches and all those things, and then just parts inside of the game. There's just so many ways to do it, and YouTube and videos are a great way to show that off. Another one is that it's just a new way to pull in traffic and make people aware of your site that isn't really SEO dependent. You know, so we've talked a lot about long tail keywords and keyword research, and that's where we spend a lot of our time early, and that stuff's all well and good, and we talked about that will pay off. It takes a few months. YouTube, there's still obviously algorithms behind the scenes in the works when people search things, but you can use, you know, long tail keywords, for lack of a better term. That's what we're going to talk about a lot tonight on YouTube, and it's not really, you know, SEO driven in sort of the classic sense when we talk about a website. So we'll talk more about that, but it's a great way to just bring awareness to people, and then get them to your website and drive traffic that way. And then there's plenty of ways to reuse your own videos to create written content for your site. And so there's a lot of sort of mixing and matching that can happen here. So when you create a really good video, obviously it doesn't have to be just a video. You can take that video and make it the source, or sort of the launching point for the next blog post on your site, and write more about it and that sort of thing. We talked about, when we did content a couple of months ago, we talked about things like embed and react type posts, or YouTube cut-ups and things like that. You can start doing that stuff with your own videos, which is really cool to be able to do that, because you sort of own the content all the way around. You know it better than anybody else. So there's just a lot of ways to repurpose these videos inside of your own website. And then the last point, which I think is also important, is that the reason I like it is because it's much harder to duplicate than a site that's only written content. And so somebody else, you know, at some point we're going to be publicly revealing all of the domains and stuff. That's part of the deal with Niche Site Project 3. And so when that point comes, at least in the past when Spencer's done this, people go and try to knock off the site and copy the content and do a bunch of stupid stuff because they're idiots. And so hopefully that doesn't happen this time around, and people, you know, understand that that you're trying to do something good and you're working hard at it, and people don't do shady stuff. But if they do, you know, when you have something like video, it's a lot harder for somebody to try to duplicate that, because you really do know baseball and you know these things, and making the effort to go do a, you know, semi-professional looking video where you go out and you show somebody how to hit, or whatever the case may be. Some guy who's hiring a content writer to go out and create some baseball website, they can't do that kind of stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like it's a whole different level of content. And so I think that that's really cool. Stuff that's harder to duplicate, it's kind of like we talked about with link building, you know, the stuff that's more laborious in a way, and the stuff that's a little bit harder to get at and kind of harder to find, some of these broken link building and things like that. Those are the things that I like to spend my time on, because they're the hardest to replicate for a competitor. And so doing video, doing YouTube has a lot of those elements as well. And sorry, I wasn't calling anybody in particular an idiot. I got a little fired up. I don't like that, you know. We work hard on our websites, right, Ryan? So you don't want somebody trying to tear you down, man. That's no fun.
Let me be very clear now. If anybody out there is thinking about ripping my site off when it becomes public, I'll find you and I'll hurt you. And I will record it, and I'll put it on YouTube.
There you go.
And I will turn your pain into money in my pocket. Okay.
I'll put ads on the video. Yeah. Ryan confronts the site stealer.
All right. There you go.
No, I don't think anybody's going to do it this time around.
Well, not after that.
Yeah, that's right, man. Laid down the law. Did you ever see, there was a video out there, I saw it years ago, and it was Buzz Aldrin, famous astronaut, took a visit to the moon, and this dude that, one of the guys that sort of spearheads the conspiracy theory that, like, man has never been to the moon, confronted him. Have you ever seen this video?
Yeah, and he punches him.
He punches him, yeah. And he's like 90 years old, and I think Buzz has gone on now.
Man strength.
I just thought it's the funniest thing. Because imagine for a moment, you know, like, if you're Buzz Aldrin, you were there. Like, you know what I'm saying? You were on the moon, and you've got this guy who's decided that never happened, and he comes up trying to tell you that. Like, what a great response. Just you know, just punch him. Like, who are you to tell me that didn't happen? But anyway, I just thought that was funny. So yeah, it'll go down like that. Anyway, we're way off topic. It's all just a joke, everybody. We're just having some fun here, so if anybody's getting offended or their feelings hurt, just calm down. We're having a good time. It's late, at least here in Cincinnati, Ohio, so I'm losing it a little bit. All right, so let's move on. Bracelet and charm strategy. So I'm going to talk about this and tell you what this means. And this idea, as I mentioned, I didn't come up with this term or anything like that. I'll tell you where I first learned about this. These guys, and I'll show you their channel here in a minute. I've mentioned it on an earlier call, but they have a YouTube channel called I Love Basketball TV. So if you look that up, you'll definitely find it because they have huge following, over 500,000 subscribers on their channel. Millions and millions of views to all of their different videos, and they've built quite a big, quite a successful business. I mean, they make a good amount of money just off of like YouTube ads, and I think they sell some sort of paid basketball training or something like that. I'm not sure what their end product is. They have a website and stuff as well, but YouTube is by far and away sort of been the engine that drove that. And I see a lot of similarities to that and kind of what you're doing, and so I think there's some opportunities to kind of learn from them. And so they shared through the folks at Digital Marketer, they kind of did a blog post, and I'll link to it in the post here above so everybody else can check it out. But they sort of outline their strategy. I'm going to talk about some of those elements here, and as I said, I implemented a lot of this for Longtail Pro and tried to apply it to our business, and we saw some nice success with it. I mean, we didn't, you know, it's a totally different market and all that, but and it's kind of smaller stuff, I guess, than, you know, teaching people how to play basketball when you're teaching them about Amazon affiliates or whatever. So I guess it's all relative, but obviously baseball is a big topic, so I think it can do well. So the bracelet and charm strategy, to break that down a little bit, it's just sort of a visual way to represent what we're going to talk about. So what they suggest is, and what I did for Longtail Pro, is I thought about, you know, my ideal reader, my ideal customer, the ideal person that I'm trying to reach. What are the top 5 or so, you know, longer list if possible, but let's just say the top 5 or so things that they would type into Google or YouTube to improve at baseball, or to, you know, if you're listening to this call, to do, you know, whatever it is that you're teaching people, kind of your main benefit, your main purpose. You know, what would they type in, those main things? And so for you, Ryan, I would imagine it might be things like how to hit a baseball, how to throw a baseball, maybe how to hit a baseball with power. I don't know. Some of these just sort of main things to get better as a baseball player, some of these general queries. Okay, and so those main categories become your bracelets in this instance. Okay, and so we start off with, let's say, 5 bracelets, and one is how to hit, and another is how to pitch or how to throw or something like that, and that kind of becomes a main category. All right, is it making sense so far?
Yeah.
All right, so very simple. So you sort of just jot those down, all right, when you're starting this out. And I used a Google Doc for all this, and I really went through this exercise. I was thinking about, in the context of Longtail Pro, you know, what are the things that the people are reading the Longtail Pro blog, and some of the folks that read Niche Pursuits and things like that. You know, what are the things that we're hearing most? What are the questions they ask about? What's the content that they get excited about? And that's sort of where I started it, and I started just jotting down some ideas. And then the charms on this, and so if you've seen, you know, a bracelet, and I've got a picture on here in a moment to help you visualize what I'm talking about for anybody that doesn't know. A bracelet that has a bunch of just little, you know, decorative charms on it or whatever, that's sort of the visualization that's happening here. So our main core, our bracelet, is kind of those main category questions, you know, how to hit, whatever, how to hit a baseball. The charms are all those more specific queries that leads to. And so what happens is that with YouTube, like with Google and like with Amazon, is that when you start typing in these search queries when you're on YouTube, they start suggesting searches to go along with that. So when we type in how to hit a baseball, it's going to give us 5 to 10 suggested searches to go on that. So it'll kind of have a next word, how to hit a baseball with power, how to hit a baseball better, whatever, things that go along with that. And so what these guys suggested that they do, and what they said that they did for I Love Basketball TV, is they started out there and they basically, on their list, they wrote down their 5 bracelets, and then below that, they wrote down every charm. And so a charm was every suggested search that YouTube gave them, they wrote that down. And ultimately what they did is that they made a video that specifically addressed every one of those charms. So, and it's, again, very similar to the long tail keyword strategy that we talk about for your website. It's the same kind of approach. So they did these like really specific kind of niche-y videos and just short videos that just show you this one thing. And that's sort of the basis of how they built up what's now like this huge basketball channel. So it's really kind of interesting. So we're going to look at that in the context of baseball. But does that make sense overall?
Yeah, totally.
There you go.
This
call is sponsored by Pandora. Unforgettable Moments, brought to you by Pandora. Not really. But there you go. There's a bracelet with a bunch of charms on it, all right? So that's sort of what we're after. Okay, so by doing this, the idea is that you'll completely cover your main topics, including the best, most popular long tail searches. And so when it comes to hit a baseball, you will have covered sort of every angle of that topic and all the different varieties that people want. You will have covered that on YouTube. And so there's a lot of reasons that works, and we'll get into some of that here in a moment. And then sort of I guess the final part when they do this, and this is what they recommended is with the bracelet and charm, is that once you've covered all the long tails, they would go back and do a longer video that's more of the ultimate guide to whatever that main bracelet was, that main category, in the hopes for ranking for that big term. And that's exactly what they've done. So they may have started with how to shoot a basketball, okay, as their bracelet, and then they had charms like how to shoot a basketball like Steph Curry, how to shoot a basketball better, how to shoot a basketball for little kids, that sort of stuff. So they did all of these short charm videos for those long tail YouTube searches, and then at the end they rounded back and they might have done a 2 to 3 minute video on each one of those sort of long tail searches. Then at the end they rounded back and they did a video about just how to shoot a basketball better, sort of the general video, and they might have made that a 10 to 15 minute video where they cover all of these different drills. And frankly, they probably put a lot of the stuff that was in some of those shorter videos, they sort of culminated it all into one big video, and they were able to ultimately rank for a lot of these really big, very commonly searched terms. And that's sort of what threw gasoline on the fire and helped them grow into a really big YouTube channel. And so we'll be using the same kind of strategy, applying it to baseball. Cool. Make sense?
Yeah, totally.
All right, let's do an example. So here are a couple that came to my mind. And if you've got anything else that comes to your mind, feel free to throw it out. So again, thinking about, I've listed 3 here, and you could definitely make a longer list, and I'll talk about some ways to, some things I've thought of to kind of expand some of these strategies. But I thought of baseball workouts, hit a baseball, throw a baseball. These are just sort of these general things. What are the top things that my ideal reader, my ideal viewer would be looking for? What are they searching for? These kind of things. So let's jump out of the presentation for a minute. I'm going to show YouTube here. Alright, so let's go to YouTube and let's take a look at some of this stuff. So this is the I Love Basketball TV channel that I mentioned to you, the guys that sort of explain this approach that I used with the Longtail Pro videos. A couple of things, you can see just the amounts of views on some of their most popular stuff. 2 million views on this, Kyrie Irving crossover, how to shoot a basketball perfectly, how to shoot like Steph Curry, all of this stuff. And this guy here is, he's not an NBA player or whatever. He goes by Coach Rock or Coach Rocky. So he's a basketball coach and he knows his stuff, but he does most, if not all of these videos and just shows different stuff and drills to make you better and kind of teaches you how to do all these different things, kind of long tail things in the basketball world, and doing really, really well for themselves. So that's the channel. You can definitely check it out for more. But let's go look at our stuff here. So if I do hit a baseball, you'll see what I'm talking about here. So some of this stuff might be irrelevant, and that's fine. You can check it off your list. like hit with a baseball bat. That's probably somebody looking for like a video where somebody got hurt or something like that.
Right.
That's not really what we're looking for. Hit a baseball backwards, probably not relevant unless you just want to do something weird and see if you can swing backwards and hit a baseball. Go for it. But here's the kind of stuff that I'm talking about: how to hit a baseball with power, how to hit a baseball farther, how to hit a baseball every time, how to hit a baseball for kids, beginners, far harder, which you can, some of these you can sort of combine, far and farther. Obviously, you're not going to do two different videos, but you can jot down the with power, the every time, harder. You can talk about making solid contact for beginners, for kids. So you can think of sort of different things to do with that. Same deal if I go back and do baseball workouts. So I've got with weights for pitchers, for arm strength, for hitters, for infielders. You see where I'm going with this?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So, baseball workouts is my bracelet. My charms are baseball workouts with weights, baseball workouts for pitchers, for arm strength, etc. And so if I were you, I would have my Google Doc open. I would start making this list. And again, as you're thinking of more things, you can just keep sort of running through this process and just getting your list longer and longer. And there's no perfect or set number of bracelets that you have to have. You can kind of build this out as much as you want, and ultimately, get into some different stuff if you'd like. But it's just a great way to start, and a very strategic way to start, because you're basing it off of what YouTube is kind of saying. Hey, this is the stuff that people are commonly looking for. So it's not like you're just throwing, darts blindfolded or something. You sort of know what you're doing here. Make sense?
Yeah, totally.
Cool. So that's pretty much it. I mean, as far as like, I'll talk a little bit more and kind of round things out, but as far as doing the work and going to YouTube and finding these things, I mean, that's how you find the info. It's pretty simple. So let's go back. Let me dive back to the presentation. Do you have any questions at this point?
No, I think I got it.
Okay, cool. Let me dive back into the presentation then and talk a little bit about the videos themselves and some good guidelines to follow. So this is all I Love Basketball TV stuff that they shared and stuff that I implemented when I did the long tail pro stuff. So for these charm videos, these long tail keyword type videos, where I'm going to do whatever it was, baseball workouts for catchers, okay, I think was one of them. You want it to be short and to the point, and generally you want it to have a quick introduction, one tip or trick, and then a call to action at the end of the video. So there's typically 3 parts. Intro. Hey, this is Ryan from whatever. I'm going to be talking about some baseball workouts designed for catchers. Let's get into it. And then you show one workout. All right. So you're not going to go and do a 30-minute workout video. You're going to show like one thing. If it's a stretch or whatever it is, talk about it, minute and a half, 2 minutes, and then at the end you want to have a call to action, which is basically can be a lot of things, and we'll talk about some of that here a little bit more in a moment. But essentially you're telling them what to do next. So it could be, hey, subscribe to our channel, hit the like button down below if this was helpful, or hey, you catchers out there, what else do you want us to show you? Comment in the video below. Let me know what you'd like to see. We'll take a look at it for future videos. And they do a lot of that with their basketball stuff. And it's a great way to engage your audience when you're doing that. So once people do start seeing your videos, it's a great way to get people to start responding, to follow you, and then find out when you put out new videos. So it's a great way to kind of build up that base of people that are going to be watching your stuff, but then also can give you some ideas for the future and how you grow and find out what people are wanting to see, and give you some ideas of what to cover in the future. Another thing you can do with a call to action is to have a lead magnet or something like that you push them to. So if you have a free download of a beginning baseball workout or an off-season workout or something like that, something that you could send them somewhere to download that in exchange for their email address, that's a great way to do that. And that's what we did, or what I did for the long tail pro stuff. I had a few different categories. One, I was talking about, I mentioned I did a series of videos about different questions like this for Amazon affiliate type stuff. And so with that, I had created a PDF, which was just based off of a blog post, really. I took a blog post that I had written about making more money as an Amazon affiliate for longtailpro.com, and I turned that into a PDF document. And then I used that as a lead magnet in those videos. So I would talk for a couple of minutes about, let's say that my charm, so to speak, was Amazon affiliates for beginners. And so I would talk for 2 minutes and just give a beginning intro to that and give them sort of one actionable piece of information. And then I'd say, hey, if you're really getting started with this and you want to see, we've got this PDF you can download with 3 simple strategies, including examples of how you can make more as an Amazon affiliate. Click the link in the corner of the video or down in the description. Give us your email address and we'll send that right out to you. have a great day, that sort of thing. So I would just end with a call to action. Found it to be really, really effective. So that's sort of the general flow of the video. And then focus on one need or solution per video. So I mentioned that already, but the idea here is that because you are targeting, especially on these charms, you're targeting like a really specific thing. You don't want to go way off into making it a general video. You really want to make it honed in and zeroed in on that one specific topic, and people will appreciate that because it's relevant to what they're searching for. Like, they're looking for something very specific. So in my video about baseball workouts for catchers, I'm not going to go off and start showing them stuff about pitchers too, because that's not what they were looking for. So everything is focused on the catcher. Like, I know exactly what I'm talking about. I stick there. I do one thing, one solution. That's it. I don't get too off point here, or else you'll lose people and they'll stop watching the video. Then as far as just structure and kind of basics of the video, you're going to use that keyword in your title, description, and the tag of the video. So this has some similarities to the SEO stuff that we're talking about. So if it's workouts for catchers, you're going to make it a little bit more catchy. Again, like we talked about with your website, so that's not going to be just the only thing in your title, but you want to include that in your title so YouTube knows exactly what it's about. You want to include it in your description. Same thing with the tag. You want to keep your tags really laser specific because you're not worried about ranking for baseball workouts with this particular video. The thing you really want to rank for is baseball workouts for catchers. Like, that's what it's really about, and that's what you really focus on with all of your little data points that you can configure in your YouTube side of things. Make sense so far?
Yeah, totally.
Cool. All right, and then next thing is use Canva to create a custom image template and use that. And so let me show you, let me bounce back out real quick to, and I'll show you this on their channel. And you'll see this on almost every single video, if not every video, and you kind of see what I'm talking about here. When I look at these videos, so this one, they created this image here, and you can, when you're uploading a video, you can say, by default, YouTube will just do like a random screenshot from somewhere in your video, but you can say use this image instead. And so when people are just scrolling in the results of YouTube, they can see, this says master pull up a jump shot with this drill, and they've got that text overlay over, an image of him shooting a jump shot, that sort of thing. They've got that in almost all their videos. And so these do a really good job of getting click-throughs. Like, when you see one of these in the results, and let's just say that I had searched, how to shoot a pull-up jump shot, and I've got this video in my results, and then down below it, I've got a video that's just, it has no text on it at all. It's just a random image of some dude, looks like playing pickup basketball. A lot of people are more likely to click on this one here because they know exactly what they're getting. It catches your eye. It just kind of makes logical sense there. So I think that it's worth doing with Longtail Pro. I try to do that every time. And again, with something like Canva, it's a free tool, and you don't have to go do any crazy custom design every time. Just get a template that works. If you want to switch up some colors and things, great. Maybe you have your logo in there, but you want some nice big text so when people are seeing this smaller image, they can clearly see what your video is about. So just give it a little bit of a text summary. It's going to make it jump off the page a little bit. Make sense?
Yeah. Canva's great.
Yeah.
Like, I know a little bit of design, but
yeah.
I still use Canva because it just cuts so much time out of the process.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah.
It can make people that don't know what they're doing, which would be me, look pretty good.
Yeah,
it's because they've got so much sort of out of the box stuff that just looks sharp,
Yeah, it's crazy.
Last point on video guidelines, and again, this is something that the I Love Basketball folks had recommended, and I just took the recommendation. I mean, I'm of the opinion, like, a lot of this stuff that's out there, there's a lot of, well, first of all, there's just an overload of information out there online in general, but in this space, internet marketing, all that. But when you find somebody that really knows their stuff and they're doing it, I mean, they're a practitioner, and you can see before your eyes that they're successful, in a space like basketball or whatever. When they say, hey, this works, and I would suggest doing it this way, I don't have any reason to know any better, so I just take their word for it. If that's worked for you, I'm on board. That's what I'm doing. And so their suggestion is that even if you film your videos in bulk, and we'll talk about that in a moment, where you go out and spend a day on the field or in the gym or whatever you do, and you get somebody to record you, and let's say that you cut 10 videos that are all 2-3 minutes long on these different charm type things that we're talking about. rather than going back and cleaning them up a little bit and just dropping all 10 of them at a time on YouTube. Their suggestion was to find sort of a publishing schedule that is feasible for you based on, you know, the amount of videos that you're filming and kind of what you're doing. So maybe weekly, 2 times per week, or every other week, you know, if you can't do it that much, but whatever it is, kind of stick to it and just drip it out there. And so you can schedule stuff for the future. I could still go upload all 10 videos and set my description and settings and all of those things and just say, but don't publish this until next month or whatever. And so I did a lot of that. I would kind of preload our videos for Longtail Pro, and I had them coming out every Monday or something like that for several months. And so that's a great way to kind of front load the work, but then schedule it to just drip out over time. And their theory behind that, again, I don't know if this is proven in data or whatever, but I'm just kind of going with their word on it. What I recall, their theory on that was that it sort of shows YouTube that you're not just a one and done type user, like, you know, hey, we're going to be producing good stuff for a long time to come. And so their theory was that it kind of helps YouTube give some credibility to your channel and ultimately help their rankings a little bit. So yeah, so that's sort of the publishing strategy as well. All right. So let's go talk about, I think this might be I think I got one more slide after this, but turning viewers into leads. And so the way that we do that, I talked a little bit about it a moment ago about doing a verbal call to action. That's very powerful. But YouTube cards are those little things that pop up on a video. You'll see them from time to time, and they've sort of changed. They still have, there's 2 different kinds, and the other one's, I can't think what it's called, if it's a billboard or something. But it looks, to me, I actually never used them, and I think the plan is in the longer term that they're going to phase them out if they haven't already. And I don't know, I don't really keep up on YouTube super closely, but those are kind of those colored text boxes that to me just looked kind of outdated and cheesy, where, you know, it'll pop up, say, hey, like our video, or if you like this, click here, that sort of stuff that shows up in the video. And I just thought it looked kind of, I don't know, it just didn't look really, very professional. But YouTube cards, they look really nice. It's sort of like a little info box that'll pop up in the corner or whatever, and you can set the text to say, hey, you know, to learn more about this, click here, or get our free whatever, click here. And then when you click on it, it expands into where you sort of write. You have a call to action button, you can put an image, and it looks real nice. And so that's where we would set up our things like that Amazon Associates lead magnet or whatever that I talked about. I would do those as YouTube cards. And so what I would have is that in each video, I would have something that I wanted them to do. And so in our case, it was to download something. We wanted to get their email address, and we wanted to follow up with them to ultimately sell them Longtail Pro. And so I would have a card at the beginning of the video, maybe 10 to 15 seconds in, kind of when I'm wrapping up my intro, so somebody who was impatient and wasn't going to watch the whole thing could see it. So it would kind of show up for 10 seconds and then just fade away. And then I would have one towards the end of my video. So when I'm going into my verbal call to action, that card shows back up again. And so if they're ready at that point, they've watched the whole video and now they want to take me up on the offer, they can click on it and follow it to whatever it was I was trying to send them to. And so that's sort of how we drove people to the lead magnets, and I would suggest that you do the same when you get to that point. So that leads me to this, is that ideally you should have a lead magnet that's relevant to your video content that you ask people to download. So I drew that conclusion earlier of, you know, when we talked about Amazon affiliate stuff, I had specifically an Amazon affiliate PDF that they could download. And so it's just like a content upgrade or anything else. The closer relevant it is, the more, you know, that somebody's going to do that. So for you, you could divide that up into a few different major categories probably. You know, maybe you get a lead magnet about hitting, maybe you have one about defense, or, you know, one about pitching, or, you know, maybe you get 2 or 3 or something like that. But at least just have a couple of different ones in there that you can use the one that's most relevant when you talk about that in a video. Another thing I would do is, as far as, you know, getting people to click and become a lead and not just a viewer, is that using the video description to link to a lead magnet, or at least to a page on your site that you want to send them to. So if you're not at the point that you don't have a lead magnet to really send them to download, you know, you can at least send them to a page where, hey, if you want to learn more about hitting, go here, and you send them to your best page about hitting, you know, that sort of thing, and get them on your site and hopefully get them to come back and read more of your stuff, click on ads, that sort of stuff. So you at least want to have some kind of plan in place, and in your description you want to be driving them somewhere. That's another, I guess, just important point, like the difference in when I was doing this for Longtail Pro as opposed to like the I Love Basketball guys. I know with theirs, YouTube, it's optional if you want to allow those ads to appear on and before your videos and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think in our case, I had turned it off on pretty much all of them because really we had our own product. You know, we were trying to sell people software, that sort of thing. So like, I didn't really want people clicking on ads. I wanted to send them to our site and so we could sell them stuff. And so in your case, you may want to have ads. I know that, like I said, the basketball guys do that, and they make, because they get so many views, I mean, you know, they make what most of us would consider a full-time income off of just YouTube ads, you know, which is pretty sweet. So, but they also have stuff that they try to send people to on their own site. But it's just a thought there, you know, early on, if you don't have a lot figured out as far as, hey, what would I even sell these people if they become a lead? And well, I don't know, you know, maybe you do use those YouTube ads, and some people will click through on that, and you just really try to drive people to be subscribers and try to get them to engage and comment, like your videos and stuff like that, and focus on sort of building up the channel. That's just another sort of approach you can take about it, is just thinking through, hey, what's my primary purpose of this channel? And that sort of drives what you do with a lot of this information. Make sense?
Totally.
Okay. All right. So always close with a verbal call to action. And I've said this a couple times now. Ask them to like, subscribe, comment, what else they'd like you to cover, maybe go download a lead magnet, whatever. I think that that's really powerful, you know, and it can change over time, which when you're filming these videos, it really does make a difference. I don't remember the opt-in rates, but we had what I felt like really strong opt-in rates for our videos on YouTube, and I feel like that was a big part of it. And again, that's one of those things where I kind of took the word of people that were just killing it on YouTube and said, hey, if it's working for these guys, I'm going to do it. And, it makes logical sense, you know, because when the video is winding down, if somebody's watched that whole video, you know, they're into it. Like, they enjoyed what you had to say, or they enjoyed what you showed them, that sort of thing. And so it's very logical to assume that they're going to want more information about that. And so when you're ready to serve that up or get them to interact and say, hey, what else do you want me to talk about? You know, they're pretty much on board with that. So a verbal reminder, besides just popping up a little card in the corner, they might not see that, you know, or they might not just kind of naturally be blind to it or ignore those things. So when you say, hey, click on the link in the corner, go get more information. Oh, hey, I didn't even see that, you know, so it's just another way to grab that person's attention. So I always like to try to do that at the conclusion of your video. All right, so let's wrap things up, and I'm going to kind of give you sort of steps to move forward on this, and then we can, you know, any questions you have or kind of talk about how this all fits in the bigger picture, we can close with that. But start making a list of possible bracelets and their charms. So I gave you a little bit of a starter list there, and you'll know even more than I do kind of the things that people are searching, and then go to YouTube and kind of find out, looking at those suggested searches. You can even add that to the Google Doc you've already got. Just open up a separate tab. So even if it's not something you start, you know, today or next week, you've still got that list, and you kind of know what you're going to be doing, and you've got something to work off of. And then you can always expand ideas by doing videos of blog posts and using Uber Suggest. And so this bracelet and charm approach thing worked well for Longtail Pro. Obviously, it's been gangbusters for the basketball guys, and I think it'll work really well for you. Once you get, this is sort of step 2, you know, once you feel like you've maxed that out and you're not finding any other good ones that you feel like are relevant, another thing that I did a little bit of with Longtail Pro was I started making videos about my blog posts, so stuff that I had written, in some cases even months ago. I still knew it well enough just by heart to go back and kind of skim that article, and then I would just go talk and make a video. Maybe in the video I would be showing my screen and show people examples of the stuff that I was talking about. So if it was, you know, how to get more followers on Instagram or something like that, I might go show some examples, and then I would talk about that. And so my thought process behind that is that, you know, obviously YouTube videos show up in Google searches naturally, you know, organically. You see that when you're doing keyword research, and so your videos can do the same thing. And so my thought is that I had so many blog posts where I had done keyword research, and, you know, I felt like I had good low competition keywords I was targeting. I thought, hey, if this is a good low competition keyword that I could do a blog post about, why not do a YouTube video about it? I know that people are searching it. Maybe they're not searching it directly on YouTube, but hey, maybe if my blog post doesn't rank for whatever reason, maybe I can get my YouTube video to rank. And so I would do a short 3-4 minute video and just kind of talk through whatever it was I wrote about in the blog post, you know, and create a video about it. So that repurposing the content thing kind of works both ways. And so that's sort of the next step that you can graduate to once you're past bracelets and charms when it comes to your baseball stuff. And then plus using Uber Suggest. So you can go to Uber Suggest, and if you want to, if you start to find that you're getting some momentum and YouTube is working well, to expand those ideas out even further. We talked about that early on in the keyword research phase, but go back through that, and even using Longtail Pro and things like that. But in this case, I'm not so worried about the competition number, just trying to get some of those ideas of what are people searching for. Go take a look at the search volume and kind of let that drive some of the things that you do some videos about in the future. All right, and so figure out your recording process, but don't obsess about it would be my advice. And even the basketball guys, they mention this as well. But I know this can be a hang up, and I think even especially for you, Ryan, at least with the stuff that you've told me about, getting hung up on getting things to look just right or to be perfect. If you've got, they talked about some of their most popular videos on their channel, they filmed them with an iPhone, and so it's not about, there's a line there. You're not trying to win any awards here, for the video, but you want it to get the point across. To me, as long as it has decent audio, and so maybe maybe there's a mic involved, a wireless mic or something like that, depending on the situation, to where it sounds good. I think you're good to go, and you can get what you need very cheaply, or you may already have access to it. But it doesn't have to be perfect. It could be filmed on a nice newer smartphone, or if you have a good HD camera laying around, obviously you can use that as well, but don't go crazy with it. Don't worry about it being perfect. As long as you have a friend or your wife or whoever that can, hey, can you come out here for an hour or two and film me, somebody you feel comfortable around, and you don't feel a little awkward doing it, give it your best shot and just roll it out there. Don't have to be perfect to publish it. And then plan to record as many videos as possible in one session to maximize your time. At least that's my thought on this, is that, once there's a certain amount of dedication and stuff that it'll take when you go to do this for the first time. You're probably going to put on your baseball uniform and look the part, whether you're indoors or outdoors or whatever you're doing. You're going to have your equipment. You're going to have somebody there to help you with the filming, that sort of thing. Once you're to that point, like you've put in a fair amount of time and effort into that, get as much out of that as you can. So that's why it's a good idea to start by having a pretty good list of bracelets and charms. So you go out and at the very least, like I would record every video in a bracelet in one setting, if not more. You know what I mean? And that's what I would do with Longtail Pros. If I'm going to talk about Amazon Associates, like once my brain gets in Amazon Associates mode, I just knocked out all 8 videos that I was doing about Amazon Associates, so I'd sit there for, and that's, maybe 25 minutes of video time. I could do that in less than an hour sitting at my desk. I would just go from one video, and then I would pull up my other examples, get a couple things sorted on my laptop, start recording the next one, and occasionally I'd have to go back and do a retake or something. But once you get going, you can knock that stuff out pretty quick, and you can always, once you've got the video content, the raw footage, you can come back and edit it later and all that, and that. So do as many as you can up front, and then you can sort of clean them up and publish them later, and I think that's the best use of your time. And then think through lead magnet ideas. And I think this is the final point I have on this presentation. Ideally different ones for the major skills as opposed to one general offer, hey, how to be a better player. I mean, if you have something that how to be a better hitter, how to be a better pitcher, how to play better defense, or one maybe that's more of a baseball fitness type lead magnet or something like that could be a good idea. Or of course any ideas that you have. I'm just throwing things out there. But I think that even if you're not to that point yet, and I know that you're not, but at least thinking through that, I think in the longer term, I think it'll be a good thing to have. And you can always, even if, I know that the verbal call to action wouldn't be there, but those cards that we talked about, you can always come in and add those later or change those later. So like if you publish a video and at this point all you're saying is, hey, if you like this, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel, and hey, let us know down in the comments what else you'd like to see. If that's what you're doing now for a call to action, but later on you come in and add a card for a lead magnet, that's fine. You can do something like that. So don't let it be an impediment that stops you from doing any videos because you don't have the lead magnet part figured out yet. Okay, but at least be sort of thinking about that and get some ideas in place so you can do that down the road. I think, yes, that is the last of the presentation. What questions do you have about that, if any, as it relates to YouTube?
Well, no, that's all pretty straightforward. It's all good stuff. It's I feel like I could definitely take advantage of that. I have access to fields and gyms and stuff like that, so
Yep.
that's good. Um, I'm pretty sure you can't, but can you put affiliate links on YouTube videos?
I'm not sure, to be honest.
Yeah.
I feel like I'd looked into that before, but I really don't remember. You're just talking about to like maybe to like Amazon or something.
Yeah, exactly. If you're talking about a product or something like
Yeah,
that.
I know I've tried to look up that very answer before, and I honestly don't know that I found a definitive one. And I'm really not sure.
Sure. Yeah, I feel like I don't see it, so I'm assuming it's like against their terms, but
Right.
um, I didn't know.
Yeah, it may well be. I'm not sure.
Let me see what else. Uh, I don't know. I don't think I have any questions.
Okay. When I mean something like this, I mean I know it's something that you've from the beginning you've said that you've thought about and would like to do as far as creating some videos and stuff like that. I mean, when do you see yourself getting out there and doing it? I mean, is there anything that's like, do you kind of have what you need? Is there anything that's standing in your way that would stop you from doing this relatively soon, or is it something that you're going to wait a little bit on, or what are you thinking?
Um, it's probably something I'd like to do in the next, um, like in the next 2 months, probably.
Yeah,
I still want to flesh my site out a lot more than
yeah,
it is right now, obviously.
right.
Um, but it's spring and turning into summer, and I'm playing baseball right now, so got to strike while the iron's hot. I've got
Mid-season form, man.
yeah, and I've got I've got teammates and stuff like that that I could probably pull to help out and
That would be awesome, man. If you could tap into that, that'd be great.
yeah. I mean,
Get some other guys involved. I mean, it doesn't have to be just you, obviously.
yeah, no, definitely. I think there's definitely a couple guys that would probably buy him a 6 pack of beer or whatever and get him out there, and
Turn him into a YouTube star.
there you go. Yeah. But yeah, so I would like to maybe start doing this within the next month or two.
Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, good, man. Yeah, I mean that's pretty much all there is to it. And I kind of agree with what you're saying. I mean, I think that the site is still more of a priority, but the YouTube stuff can build up pretty quickly. So
Hmm.
once you get out there and start doing it, I think that I don't know. I mean, like with Longtail Pro, obviously it's a brand, but when I started doing this with YouTube with Longtail Pro, there was no channel. Like, I created it, so like in the eyes of YouTube at least, it was a brand new channel, and I just started publishing videos. So like, I mean, we were a nobody for YouTube, and it started working. I mean, some of those things caught, some of them didn't. And anybody that's listening to this can go look at the Longtail Pro channel. I think all the videos are still there, and some of them have a couple hundred views maybe, but some of them, 7, 8 thousand, and then some of the ones you see out there we used for other purposes, like our FAQ page and stuff like that. So those had other views, but I'm talking about more of the marketing type focused ones. Some of them hit pretty well. Some of these charm type videos where you've got several thousand views, and behind the scenes we got a solid amount of leads out of that, so it's not like every single video is going to be a hit, but I think when you follow this approach, I think you're definitely going to have some hits in there. And so, as you know, best hitters in the game batting 300, right?
That's
So
right.
we'll just close it out with a baseball analogy.
There you go.
You can get 3 out of 10, you can make $1,000,000, man.
That's right. That's right.
Anyway, cool, man. All right, well, I won't keep you any more of your time. Thanks, and I'll, like I said, I'll link to some more of the info on the strategy here for everybody else that's listening up in the blog post. So check that out. Hopefully this was helpful for some of you guys that have thought about doing YouTube, and excited to see what Ryan comes up with here when he gets to this point in the next month or two, and hopefully grow his site, grow his following a little bit. So until next time, guys, thanks for joining us, everybody. Ryan, have a good night. I'll talk to you soon.
See ya.
All right, see you.